What a finish, right? That final defensive snap against the Bears felt like one of those moments you remember, not just because the game ended, but because of how it ended. You go back and watch it again, slow it down, really digest it, and it almost feels unreal. The 49ers show pressure. They create chaos before the snap. And then, when the ball is actually snapped, they rush just 2 defenders. 2, and somehow, on the most important play of the night, one of them gets through completely, untouched, and forces the quarterback into panic mode. That's the kind of moment that tells you a lot about where this team is right now. Think about how wild that is. All game long, the narrative around this defense has been about inconsistency, injuries, and struggling to get pressure without sending extra bodies. And then, with the game on the line, the coaching staff trusts the disguise, trusts the coverage, and trusts the players to execute something that almost no one in the stadium is expecting. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It was surgical. That stop wasn't about overpowering the Bears. It was about confusing them, shrinking the field, and forcing a mistake at exactly the right time. What really stands out when you re-watch the play is how fast everything collapses for Chicago. From the quarterback's perspective, there's nowhere to go. Passing lanes disappear instantly. The end zone looks like a wall of red jerseys. And the moment he bails, it's already over. That's not an accident. That's coverage doing its job, defenders staying disciplined, and one pass rusher winning immediately when it matters most. If you're a defensive coordinator, that's the kind of snap you frame. And here's the bigger picture. That stop wasn't just about stealing a win. It was about proving that even with flaws, even without playing perfect football, this team can still close games. That's something this roster has been chasing all season. You don't need dominance on every snap if you can deliver in the biggest moment. And that's exactly what happened here. Let me ask you this real quick, and drop your answer in the comments. Did you expect the 49ers to rush only 2 on that final play? Yes or no? Be honest, because I didn't see it coming at all. And if you enjoy these kinds of breakdowns where we really unpack the why behind the plays, make sure you subscribe and help push this channel toward 1,000 subscribers. That support really matters, because as impressive as that defensive call was, the other side of this game tells an equally important story. And when you start breaking down what went wrong for the Bears and what the 49ers took advantage of, it makes that final stop look even smarter. When you flip the lens to the Bears' side of that final play, the picture gets even clearer why the 49ers' approach worked so perfectly. This wasn't just a great defensive call, it was a situation where confusion, timing, and pressure all stacked on top of each other for Chicago. You can see it before the ball is even snapped. There's late motion, players scrambling to get set, and a sense that the offense is racing the clock rather than fully in control of the moment. That's exactly what a defense wants in that situation. Once the play starts, everything the Bears are trying to do flows in one direction, and that's a problem. Most of the route concepts are designed to move from left to right, but the quarterback immediately bails left. That alone cuts the field in half and removes almost every option he has. The one quick outlet that's there, the running back in motion, never even gets a look. And that's huge, because that might have been the simplest answer. One throw, one tackle to break, and suddenly the game looks very different. Instead, the quarterback takes off without realizing where the real danger is coming from. He doesn't even know pressure is arriving from behind, and by the time he does, it's too late. That's the beauty of what the 49ers did. They didn't rely on heavy pressure to speed him up. They relied on coverage to make him hesitate, and on disguise to make him uncomfortable. In the red zone, when everything is already condensed, that hesitation feels like forever. There's also the blocking element, and it's hard to ignore. You've got 5 offensive linemen, 2 pass rushers, and 1 defender still gets through untouched. That can't happen, especially not on the final play of the game. Whether it was a missed assignment, a late call, or pure confusion, that breakdown is the direct result of an offense that wasn't fully settled. Credit the 49ers for creating that environment in the first place. This is where perspective matters, though. This doesn't mean the Bears are a bad team. Far from it. They're young, they're talented, and they're going to learn from moments like this. But in this game, in this moment, the 49ers were the more composed team. They trusted their structure, stayed patient, and let the offense make the mistake instead of forcing something reckless. I'm curious what you think, so answer this in the comments. Do you put that final play more on the Bears' execution or on the 49ers' defensive design? And if you're enjoying this deeper breakdown of how the game really swung, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed as we keep pushing toward 1,000 subscribers. Because while the defense sealed it at the end, the real shift in this game started earlier, when the 49ers' offense finally rediscovered something that's been missing most of the season. Reply with C when you're ready to move on. The other massive reason this game tilted in the 49ers' favor is something we haven't been able to say consistently all season. And that's the return of explosive runs. Not just efficient runs, not just 4 or 5 yards at a time, but the kind of chunk plays that change how an entire defense has to line up and think. When you see Christian McCaffrey ripping off runs of over 20 and 40 yards, that's not just a stat boost, that's a signal that the offense is starting to look like itself again. For most of the year, the run game has been functional but not frightening. Defenses were willing to sit back, play patient, and dare the 49ers to beat them without those back-breaking runs. Against the Bears, that finally flipped. McCaffrey wasn't just taking what was there. He was hitting holes decisively, making defenders miss in tight spaces, and then getting vertical fast. Those 2 long runs weren't accidents. They were the result of timing, confidence, and blocking all coming together at once. And this is where the offensive line deserves real credit. This was one of their best collective performances of the season, especially when you consider the circumstances. You lose your left tackle almost immediately, and instead of collapsing, the group settles in and starts controlling the line of scrimmage. Jake Brendel played some of his cleanest football of the year. Spencer Burford was getting out in front and finishing blocks. The interior held up, and suddenly there was space where there hadn't been space before. When the run game starts producing explosives, everything else gets easier. Linebackers hesitate just a half step longer. Safeties start creeping forward. Defensive ends can't crash down as aggressively. That's when Brock Purdy gets cleaner looks, clearer reads, and more room to operate. You're no longer asking him to be perfect on every snap. You're letting the offense dictate terms again. What stood out to me most is how much balance returned to the offense. This wasn't just McCaffrey grinding away to keep the clock moving. This was the run game creating stress. It was forcing the Bears to defend the entire width of the field and respect misdirection. That's vintage Kyle Shanahan football, and when you see it show up this late in the season, it's a big deal. Let me ask you this, and drop your answer in the comments. What mattered? More in this win, Brock Purdy's play, or the run game finally breaking loose? And if you're enjoying seeing the 49ers offense come back to life like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe as we keep pushing toward that 1,000 subscriber goal. Because the run game wasn't the only wrinkle that showed up in this one. There was another element added to the offense that could become a real problem for defenses moving forward. And it all starts with Brock Purdy himself. One of the most fascinating wrinkles from this game wasn't a throw, and it wasn't even a run by Christian McCaffrey. It was Brock Purdy using his legs in a way we almost never see in this offense. Not scrambling, not improvising, but designed runs with blockers out in front. That's a completely different conversation for a defense, especially in the red zone, and it's something the 49ers have been quietly holding back. When you go back and watch those plays, it's clear this wasn't accidental. You had pullers leading the way. You had defenders being sealed off. This wasn't a quarterback making something out of nothing. This was Kyle Shanahan dialing up a look that forces defenders to hesitate just long enough for Purdy to slip through. And that hesitation is everything. Defenses are trained to crash down on McCaffrey. When they do that, and Purdy keeps the ball, there's suddenly nobody left to account for him. What makes this so effective is that it's unexpected. Brock Purdy isn't known as a running quarterback, so defenses don't game plan for him the same way they do for someone like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. That's the advantage. You don't need to use it often. You just need to use it at the right moment. And when it shows up near the goal line, it forces defensive coordinators to add one more thing to their checklist, one more threat they can't ignore. This also speaks to how confident Kyle Shanahan is in his quarterback right now. You don't call plays like that unless you trust your guy completely. You trust him to read it correctly, protect himself, and make the right decision. That trust shows up all over the offense right now, from motion-heavy looks to misdirection runs to timing-based throws that only work when everyone is on the same page. And when you zoom out, this is why the offense feels different. It's not just producing points, it's creating stress. Defenders are moving before the snap. Linebackers are guessing. Safeties are late. When you hear former players talk about how hard this offense is to defend, this is what they're talking about. There's no clean key. Everything is moving, and now even the quarterback is part of that equation. So here's my question for you. Should the 49ers use Brock Purdy's legs more in the playoffs, or keep it as a surprise weapon? Let me know in the comments. And if you appreciate these deeper looks into how the offense is evolving, make sure you're subscribed and help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. Because now, with the offense clicking and new wrinkles showing up, everything comes down to what's next. One game, massive stakes, and a playoff picture that can change instantly depending on the outcome. Now everything funnels into what's coming next, and the stakes really couldn't be higher. This isn't just another game on the schedule. This is one of those moments where a single result reshapes the entire postseason path. One win, and the 49ers put themselves in the best possible position. One loss, and suddenly the road gets a lot more complicated. That's the reality heading into this matchup, and there's no sugarcoating it. If the 49ers take care of business, they secure the top seed and the bye that comes with it. That means rest, healing, and forcing everyone else to play an extra game just to catch you. In a season where health has already been tested, that advantage matters more than ever. It's not just about home field. It's about buying time and avoiding unnecessary wear and tear on a roster that's finally starting to hit its stride. Even in the scenario where things don't go your way, this team has shown it can win in multiple ways. The offense can carry games, the defense can still deliver in critical moments. That flexibility is what separates contenders from teams that fade out early. You'd much rather be a team figuring out how to refine your strengths than one desperately searching for an identity. What really stands out is how different this team feels compared to earlier in the season. There's more confidence. There's more rhythm. The run game is threatening again. Brock Purdy is playing with command. And when you combine that with timely defense, you start to see a formula that can travel, no matter where the playoff road leads. So here's the final question for you. Do you believe the 49ers lock up the top seed, yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments, and let's see where everyone stands. And if you've enjoyed this breakdown from start to finish, make sure you like the video and subscribe so we can hit that 1,000 subscriber goal together. This is the most important stretch of the season, and you won't want to miss what comes next.